we go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your mission commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen. And we are back. Kids, the last few episodes we've had a lot of fun talking about our favorite cartoon episodes, favorite books. This episode, we bring you Saturday Morning Live on Planet 8. We're going to talk about live action Saturday morning shows. Straight away, we're going to kick it up to the satellite. This is going to be a fun episode. Walker, take it away.
Okay, well, here it is. It's Saturday morning, a rare Saturday morning that we get together. And we're doing our favorite live action Saturday morning shows. So yeah, like Larry said, we've done our Saturday morning cartoon shows before, but there were a lot of great live action shows. And so we all decided, well, let's each pick out like a favorite and we'll talk about our favorite ones. And then we'll, if we have some time, we'll talk about others. And so I thought about this and it was pretty easy for me because, I'm such a sci-fi nerd. There was one that I immediately thought of, and that was Filmation's Ark II from 1976. This show was originally on from September of 1976 to December, only 15 episodes, but man, did they run those episodes over and over again. I think what really appealed to me about this show, so it was set in the future, it was set in the 25th century, and making perfect sense for the 70s. Anybody who grew up in the 70s knows that it had to be post-apocalyptic, but it was sort of a gentle post-apocalypse because it was for kids. But essentially there was a voiceover that told you that, because of pollution and waste, the world had kind of fallen into ruin, but there was this group of scientists off somewhere. We mysteriously never see the group of scientists off somewhere, but they had trained these three young people to go out in their futuristic RV, the Ark II, to go out and find these pockets of people and try to help them out using science and good morals and so forth. And so, yeah, they had this vehicle, the Ark II. They also had like a jetpack, and they had another little car, and they had a talking chimp. So that just sealed the deal right there, right?
Left over from Lancelot Link?
Probably. So the show featured these three characters. There was Jonah, played by Terry Lester, who is probably better known to people as Jack Abbott off The Young and the Restless. This was my mom's favorite soap opera. And he as Jonah on Ark II, he was a little bit older, probably supposed to be like in his 20s. And he was the level-headed leader, very charismatic and real good guy. And then on Young and the Restless, he was this horrible bad guy. So he showed a lot of range. Then there was Ruth, played by Jean Marie Hahn, and she was sort of the scientist of the group and kind of brought some lightness to things. And then there was Samuel, and he was played by Juan Flores, and he was kind of younger. To me, he was sort of the Chekhov of Ark II. And then,
so he would not have made it to the Ark II animated series then.
Yeah, they would cut him out and they would put in an alien. And then there was Adam the chimp. And Adam was I don't want to say evolved. I don't know how or why, but he was smart and he could talk, but he had this really croaky voice, and it was actually provided by Lou Scheimer. I'm not sure how he was the producer at Filmation.
I think it's Shimmer.
I thought it was Scheimer.
In any case, you say
Kids
potato,
comment
I
and let us
say
know.
but he would say, "Okay, Jonah, that was bad." So he had this really weird.
Which Christian Bale in an interview said he used as a template for his Batman.
Do they do the old peanut butter in the mouth trick, or?
That's a good question. I don't know, but they said that he often would get angry and throw fits, but he also said that his trainer wasn't the nicest guy. This is what I was seeing and reading. So, I just, whatever, the poor guy, these chips were often mistreated. So anyway, but he was quite, quite charming in the show. But one of the great things about this show, I went back to watch this with some trepidation, because so often, you go back to watch a show you liked as a kid, and then you watch it and you're kind of like, oh, this is not what I remember, or this is not really that great, because there's that shine of nostalgia. But I went back and watched it, and these episodes, because they were half-hour episodes, really without the commercials and everything, they're like 22 minutes. You can like fire off a bunch of them, and they were really enjoyable. And I realized this is sort of very Star Trekian in its appeal, in that you have this little crew of folks going out trying to do good, and it reminds me a lot, actually, of some of the failed pilots that Roddenberry put together after Star Trek, because he had like Planet Earth and Genesis 2, where it was a similar thing with like, oh, scientists, and then a post-apocalyptic Earth. So yeah, it was a multiracial crew. Jonah was this blonde white guy, Ruth was Asian, and Samuel was Hispanic. So they were kind of doing the multiracial thing. And then every time they would go out and have an adventure, where they would meet up with people, they always had a moral at the end. So they always left the kids with a moral. But the way they did it was, the beginning of the show, Jonah had like a captain's log, and he would say, oh, we're going to go find these people. We heard that, they're starving, and we want to figure out how we can help them. And then at the end of the episode, he would say, by working together, we can help each other and be stronger, and da 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 da. So, yeah, it was really interesting how they would kind of incorporate those things into the episode, but it didn't feel like they were hammering the kids over the head with it, and they still had plenty of adventure and character beats throughout the episode. And an interesting thing is, because Filmation was making a Star Trek cartoon at that time, they had access to all these Star Trek sound effects. So all of the sounds within the Ark II, because the inside of the Ark II is supposed to be a laboratory, every time they pushed a button or did any sort of function, it was like a bridge sound. You'd hear all the little sounds you normally hear on the Star Trek bridge. And then sometimes when the Ark II would, it could create a force field, you'd hear sounds like photon torpedoes and other things. So they really made use of their sound effects from Star Trek. And there were a few other things I thought were interesting, as some of the guest stars they managed to get on the show. They had Jonathan Harris from Lost in Space.
Pain.
And he played this Fagin, and they even called him Fagin, and he had this little group of that they would go around and scavenge stuff, but then they accidentally came across some poison gas, so the Ark II crew was trying to get the poison gas from them before they hurt themselves. And Malachi Throne was in that episode as well, and you remember him from some Star Trek. He was Commodore Mendez in the Menagerie. And then they also had Robbie the Robot, although
Mm.
it wasn't the original Robbie. Um, gosh, Bob, you would probably remember this. Who is the guy who made another Robbie and would take him out for public appearances? Do you remember,
Oh,
like in the
uh,
70s?
yeah, I don't. I saw that Robbie at a space con,
Yeah, I
but
can't remember his name
yeah, I don't
right
remember
now.
who it was that did it. It was Robert
The
Kinoshita that made
original,
the original Robbie
yeah,
and Lost in Space Robot. But yeah, I don't know who did the knockoffs.
yeah. But they it looked really great, and they so in that episode, Samuel, the young kid, because he was kind of a techie, kind of a mechanic and techie, he made this robot, Robbie, and then they thought it went out of control, but it really didn't. And it went to this village where there was like an underground sulfur leak or something, and it was making people kooky. And so it was trying to help the villagers and seal this leak, and it had like a laser beam, and it winds up sacrificing itself. And so, that was the moral of the story about friendship and sacrifice and all this other stuff. And Helen Hunt was in an episode too, and when she was like 12 or 13. So it had some interesting guest stars sprinkled throughout, which I always find fun when we look back on. I mean, man, the Invaders had like the ultimate in guest stars when we did our show on that. So yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun to go back and look at. I want to dispel one myth though. A lot of people think that the Ark II and the Landmaster from Damnation Alley were the same vehicles. They were not. They were built by completely different groups. And it was just, I think, a thing back in the 70s that they wanted to have like super RVs or something. Um, so, so they're different vehicles entirely. Um, but yeah, really cool show. I really enjoyed going back and watching it. Um, I could see that somebody somewhere could remake this thing and they'd probably screw it all up. But um, yeah, I was kind of like hesitant to rewatch it, but big thumbs up on my part.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Walker.
Yeah.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
what do you got for us?
Well, live from Planet 8, it's Saturday morning. Um, I chose, Karen had 15 episodes. That's like nothing. I chose The Land of the Lost. 3 seasons, 43 episodes.
Wow, 43.
So I had a little more homework I had to do. But I haven't watched it in a while. Um, I do have all 3 seasons. Here they are. On
Those of you
DVD.
that are not watching on YouTube should be watching Bob showing his Land of the Lost collection of
Of
DVD.
DVDs, which aren't available anymore, but you can catch it on, I think it's on like YouTube and it's on, I think there's a, Sid and Marty Croft channel that you
Oh,
can
wow.
watch it on.
Hmm.
He's
I
got a
wonder if
really cool hat on too, guys.
Hmm.
So
What's
switch
that?
over to YouTube.
Oh, the hat.
the hat.
I thought it would be cool to buy it because Trip to the Moon, it's a image from Trip to the Moon on there with the moon with the rocket like stuck in his eye. Because that's where it all started. Everything started right here.
That's right.
With a trip to the moon. Anyway, back to Land of the Lost. Um, yeah, it ran from 1974 to 1976, Saturday mornings. And it's interesting because in researching, it said it was on ABC. When
Hmm.
you see some commentaries and things on the DVDs, they all mention NBC.
That's what I thought.
So I remembered it as NBC. But if you look on like Wikipedia or some of the other online, and it could be that Wikipedia got it wrong and everybody uses Wikipedia, so it carries
Yeah.
along the line. But I'm going to say NBC for now because that's what I remember it as. That's what some of the creators and actors that did little interviews and things, they all referenced NBC. So we're going to go with NBC. Um, so it aired late in the morning on Saturday morning, usually around 11:30 or 12 in whatever markets. And that's mainly because, yes, it's a children's show, but it has some adult themes and it also has some other things going on, like very serious stories in some of those episodes. And so it was kind of above like the early morning stuff that was geared towards younger crowds or younger kids. It was produced by Sid and Marty Krofft, who did HR Puffin stuff and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters and Lidsville. But this is a total departure because those you had like kooky mascot costumes with, 4 foot
Yeah.
wide heads and whatever. And this one they tried to make it a little more believable. Originally, Sid Croft had approached Gene Roddenberry to work on the series, but Gene was off doing his failed pilots or whatever he was working on. So, so Gene actually suggested David Gerrold, who you Star Trek people will remember as the writer of The Trouble with Tribbles. And he was basically the story coordinator, producer of the series. And he took, Sid Croft had a basic idea. And originally it was supposed to be like a Swiss Family Robinson type deal. But Lost in Space was on at the time, which was Space Family Robinson. So they wanted to make it a little different. So, so basically, David Gerrold fleshed out the concept, created the characters, imagined the world, which included dinosaurs, slee stack, aliens, primitive Pekuni tribe, and there's quite a lot going on in what would be a children's, TV show. And so David Gerrold had a lot to do. He wrote a lot of the episodes for Land of the Lost. And he even brought in Victoria Franken, who was a linguist. And what she did was she developed the language for the Pakunis. So when you're watching, you think they're just talking like gibberish, primitive gibberish stuff. But it was an actual language that she developed. So if you're watching the episodes as the series goes on, there's a lot of phrases and terms and things that repeat where you could actually learn this Pakuni language as the thing goes on.
Now, that's Chaka's people?
That was Chaka, yeah.
Okay.
Chaka, Ta, and Sa. But by the time they got to the third season, Chaka was talking more English than Pakuni. So
Mm.
I think they kind of dropped the concept by then. But Spencer Milligan, who previously guest starred in various series, uh, my dog is having a fit in the background. I don't know if you can hear him, but
I don't hear it.
anyway, somebody probably dared walk a dog in front of the window. But no, Spencer Milligan starred as Rick Marshall. He was the lead in the series. And he was basically in the first 2 seasons, and we'll get to that in a bit. But Wesley Ure was a singer and a wannabe actor, and he ended up getting his first role on Land of the Lost as Will Marshall, the older sibling son
Mhm.
of Rick Marshall. And because he was a singer, he actually sang the beginning theme, the end theme, and in season 3 they gave him like 2 or 3 episodes where he was able to like sit there and sing a song. So he got to use his singing talents. And the third was, of course, Kathy Coleman, who was a child model and actor in commercials leading up to this. I think she was around 12 when she got the series, and she played Holly Marshall. Um, Phil Paley played Chaka. Now, the interesting thing about Phil Paley is at 9 years old, he was already a black belt in karate. So recently we lost Chuck Norris, and there was a clip that was going around from Johnny Carson. I think it was Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, where Chuck Norris is fighting this little kid. And of course, he's letting the little kid win or whatever. Well, that was Phil Paley, the little kid who went on to play Chaka. And he had two older members of the tribe that named Ta and Sa, and they kind of disappeared in the third season. But we'll get to that weird third season in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole concept of the series was that the Marshals were on a routine expedition, which I think was their version of a 3-hour tour. And there was an earthquake and a 1,000-foot waterfall that they went over, and they ended up going through this time portal and winding up in the land of the lost, and where they deal with the dinosaurs and the slee stack and the aliens and everything else. Um, so once they got to the third season, the first episode of the third season just changed a lot of things. They had a big, massive earthquake. Rick Marshall fell into a time portal and was like whisked off, never to be seen again. They kind of intimate that maybe he made his way back to our Earth. But for a little bit of the episode, Will and Holly are on their own. Chaka shows up and he tells them in English that the Earth split during the earthquake. Ta and Sa were on the other side of the split, and they were scared and they just ran off and left him. So you don't see them anymore in the series. So Chaka pretty much, instead of an intermediate or intermittent star in the show, he's now with Holly and Will throughout the third season. And when Rick Marshall went off into the time portal, another person came in through the time portal. So Chaka like climbs a tree so he can look around and see what's left of the wasteland. And he sees like a yellow raft similar to what the Marshalls came in on. And it had landed over by the swamp. So they go running over to the swamp and discover that it's Uncle Jack. So it's Rick's brother who's been searching for them since they got lost. And so he basically is the sort of parent figure in the third season. And he's played by our old friend, Ron Harper, who previously was on the Planet of the Apes TV series. So
I thought you were going to say Walter Koenig. I'm like, yes.
yes, Walter Koenig actually wrote an episode of Land of the Lost. So David Gerrold gave him a little work when he wasn't working, since he couldn't work on the Star Trek animated series. David Gerrold gave him a little work. But the one thing about Walter was the episode he wrote introduced this one character, Enoch, who was a intelligent slee stack. He could talk, and he was basically like a scientist. And he would be a character that would go on to be a regular on the series. Now, I was trying to look around. I don't know if Walter created him or if David Gerrold said, hey, we want this character in the series called Enoch, and you need to introduce him in your episode and whatever. But good for Walter. He made a permanent impact with his one episode that he wrote.
There you go.
But the biggest stars of the show, obviously, were the dinosaurs and the slee stack and, all the stuff that when you're a little kid watching the show, you're like, oh, this is cool. So in the first two seasons, you had a T-Rex named Grumpy. The character Holly named all the dinosaurs. And then you had a Brontosaurus, baby Brontosaurus named Dopey. And you had an Allosaurus named Big Alice. And, the thing about the dinosaurs, even though they didn't have much violence between the human characters, you did have violence between the dinosaurs. There were a couple fights, and there was even a couple scenes where a dinosaur had killed its prey and is eating the bones and the guts of the dinosaur. So
Oops.
that was actually pretty cool. But once you got to the third season, and they show the earthquake and the earth splits apart, and Grumpy actually falls down into the thing. You don't see Grumpy anymore. And Alice
A
is
lot of
still there.
budget cuts in that third season.
Well, no, because Big Alice was still there. And they had a Dimetrodon, I think it was, that breathed fire. And they had a plesiosaur that actually had two heads that lived in the swamp.
Some
So
weird,
they kind
weird
of
dinosaurs.
changed it up a little bit.
They playing fast and loose with the dinosaurs.
Yeah. But the interesting thing was there was talk of a Star Trek series back then in the mid 70s. And the big advance was called Magic Cam.
Mm,
And this was a process where all the actors would be in front of a blue screen and they would basically have all the backgrounds and background plates and miniatures or whatever on the blue screen.
yeah.
And they would shoot it live where the actors could act or react to, what was in the background. So they didn't have to superimpose things afterwards. So basically, all the dinosaurs were stop motion, a la Harryhausen, maybe a la Gumby, because they weren't quite Harryhausen detail, and they were more, almost like claymation, although they weren't. They had the actual armatures and they had the rubber, covering it. But um, they were all shot on film. The actors were shot on video, and through
Mm,
Magic Cam, they were superimposed over the background. So the first couple seasons, the effects were kind of rough, and you can kind of tell, the difference between the film and the video, or whatever. By the third season, it got much better. So it was actually a viable process. But Sid and Marty Krofft even brought Disney in uh,
Wow.
to help work out the kinks and get things worked out. But it kind of makes me glad that they didn't do the Star Trek series back then. 'Cause if
yeah.
that's the way it would have looked, it would have been, wouldn't have been that good. But
Well, didn't they use some puppetry too, though, for some
yeah,
shots? They
yeah. Well, they'd have close-ups of like the dinosaurs, like
That's kind of what I remember. Yeah.
puppet, but yeah, mostly if it was like a wide shot, full shot of the dinosaur, whatever, it would be stop motion.
Mm,
And so let's see, we've got now you think about that process, and they use that process now, except they use 4K LED screens in the background. And they've used it, if you see The Mandalorian, all those backgrounds are on an LED screen behind the actors. They're not out, on location. So it works now with today's technology.
mhm.
I had to go up to a trade show in Las Vegas and they were showing off the technology up there. And yeah, they'd have you walk on and they'd shoot you in front of a background and you couldn't tell. You just thought, oh, I'm there somehow. Magically, I'm there. So, they combined all these processes. And unfortunately, by the time they got to the third season, the budgets were getting a little pressed for, getting a little expensive. So NBC actually canceled it in the third season, which only had 13 episodes.
Mm,
There was no finale. There wasn't a wrap-up episode. There wasn't even, the final episode was just an episode. So back then, I don't think they really cared about, wrapping up a series. And I think mainly because thinking of syndication, and you see a lot of even like Star Trek, it's like Star Trek was never wrapped up. And basically it's like, well, it's syndicated, so when it gets to the last episode, then it just goes to the first episode, so
mhm.
it's just a circular thing and it never ends. So there were some talented writers on this series. Um, like I say, when I was watching it, it was like, yeah, I can see why it was later in the morning because it has some more intellectual themes and adult themes um, than most of your Saturday morning cartoons or live action shows or whatever. Um, Writers, David Gerald wrote a lot of the episodes, but they also had writers like Larry Niven, Norman Spinrad, Ben Bova, D.C. Fontana, Theodore Sturgeon, Donald Glut, and of course, Walter Koenig. So, they had some pretty good writers on this thing, but of course, they'd had to temper their stories to something that, a younger audience could understand. Um, there is an episode called Downstream, which David Gerald wrote, and the story was about an old prospector who I guess somehow made his way through the time portal, and he was trapped in a cave, and they find him in a cave, but he had a rifle, and at one point, Will is, this is still in the script stage. Will is supposed to pick up the rifle, and his father takes it from him and says, you're not supposed to touch guns until you're actually trained to use them. And NBC came back and told David Gerald, we suggest you rethink the gun. And so in an interview, he says, I rethought it and I thought it was okay. So I kept it in the script. And so when he submitted the next script to NBC, they came back and said, when we say reconsider or rethink, we mean cut. And he's like, the English language is you know, is my thing. So don't mess with the English language. If you want me to cut things, just tell me, cut it. So what he did is he made the prospector a Civil War soldier stuck in the cave, and he had a cannon. So he figured, well, Will can't pick up a cannon. Kids at home can't find cannons, so it should be okay. So they went ahead with that, although NBC wasn't quite as enthralled with David Gerald after that point. There was also an episode, and I think it was called The Possessor. And he basically, David Gerald wrote it, and he put in kind of like little nods to 2001 and King Kong and some other movies, some of his favorite movies. And at the end, Chaka was supposed to grow in size and have Holly in his hand like King Kong. But that wasn't in the budget, so that was cut. So they had a lot of like grand ideas, but it was a Saturday morning show with a limited budget, and they could only do what they could do. But the Slee Stacks became pretty popular in science fiction myth. In fact, you go to Monsterpalooza and you'll see Slee Stack candles and 3D printed figures and what they're all over the place. And there was supposed to be like an entire race of Slee Stack on the planet, but due to budgets, they could only make like 3 Slee Stack costumes. So they would have to with editing and cutting and oh, here's another view with 2 of the same Slee Stack in it. They had to make it look like there were more than just the 3. But mostly those Slee Stack were played by tall actors. They were looking for actors that were well over 6 feet. So a couple actually went on to become NBA players in basketball. So trying to see. Have any other notes? That was about it. So, Land of the Lost, like I say, you can catch it on YouTube. You can catch it on the Sid and Marty Krofft channel, and it's worth a look. 43 episodes. There's a lot to choose from, and with aliens and Slee Stack and dinosaurs, I mean, what more do you want? In fact, there's even an episode where an alien is like trying to find out more about humans. and he sees the marshals in this that they're kind of isolated in this thing. So they create an android woman, and she has they scan their thoughts and put their thoughts in her head. So when she shows up, obviously Rick's been there a while. He's a lonely guy.
Is this going to be
Yeah.
safe for our Saturday morning episode?
Well, it doesn't quite go that far, but um, he's enamored with her and she's got his thoughts. So suddenly it's like, oh, she came from his hometown. She went to his school. She knows a lot of people that he knew. And he was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, companion. And Will and Holly are like, this is like way more coincidences than there should be. So, at the end, they find out it's an android and the aliens take it back. But, um, that's a pretty big concept for kids to watch on a Saturday morning. So once in a while, they kind of push the envelope. But The Land of the Lost, I've got the
Um,
DVDs, but those aren't available anymore. So look it up online.
okay.
Nice. On occasion you can find Holly at some conventions, I hear tell.
Yeah, well, she's local-ish. I think she's up in the North Bay. Um, but yeah, she and Will still do conventions. Phil, who played Chaka, he goes along, and they bring a raft, and they have like a dopey puppet, and they have a slee stack head, and they let you put on the life preserver and get in the boat or get in the raft with them and take pictures and stuff. Um,
That's
but yeah,
cool.
no, in fact, she's appeared a couple times on Creature Features.
Yeah, over on the Creature
Yeah.
Feature show.
So, and you can find Creature Features on their own channel, and they're also on Vimeo, and they're on YouTube and quite a few places. So, um, I think you can go to YouTube and just search Creature Features, Kathy Coleman, and the episodes will show up.
Oh, yeah. Lots of fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, um, Spencer Milligan and Ron Harper both passed away in 2024. So
Mhm.
they are no longer with us, but
That's too bad.
the kids and Chaka are.
Chaka!
Chaka.
Um, that's cool. Good picks, good picks. My pick is not as science fiction-y or serious kind of
Oh, come on.
I know, I know. I misread the notes. There was this show when I was a lad that came out in the 1970s called The Bugaloos. And my mother got the biggest kick out of me watching this show because it was very, it's Sid Marty Croft. And, like in the vein of H.R. Puffin stuff, it was, kind of psychedelic. Uh, I wasn't taking of the peyote at the time, but yeah, I hear tell older folks would take of the peyote and watch this and have a great psychedelic experience watching this program as well as other Sid and Marty Croft shows. But the Bugaloos had this catchy theme song, and I won't even try to sing it. So Google the Bugaloos. But I was telling my mother this morning, I had coffee with her, and she's like, "Oh, what's the podcast about?" I said, "Oh, we're going to talk about, morning shows, kids shows." She's like, "Oh, the Bugaloos." I'm like, "Yeah, I picked the Bugaloos." And she sings the theme song. The woman's going to be 80 in August, and she's singing the Bugaloos, we're in the air and everywhere. I just started joining her singing the Bugaloo song.
Oh, that's great.
It was, she's an amazing woman. I really am fortunate. A lot of young actors were in this, and the Bugaloos basically there are these four or five bugs. There's like a grasshopper, a butterfly, a bumblebee, but they all have these English accents. Some Cockney, some it was very. But blimey, I can't understand why you can't fly, Hopper. And there was this little firefly that was in a suit, but it was Billy Barty. Hold on, Barty,
Remind me,
Billy Barty.
I have a Billy Barty story I'll tell after you're finished.
That would be great. Um, the other, to me, was a famous name was Martha Ray. And just as an aside, I was like, oh, Martha Ray. So I started going down the rabbit hole. She's had many, many husbands. I mean, her husband list is longer than her career list. No, just kidding.
Now, did she play a praying mantis?
No, she did not. This is where it gets really bizarre. She did not
Oh,
play a
Lord.
bug character. Um, her first husband was Bud Westmore.
Oh,
Isn't that something?
yeah.
Yeah.
And when
So
she was done with him, she just
on to the next one. Uh, and for those of you that don't know her, you should Google her. Her parents were in vaudeville. She grew up in vaudeville. She got into the Sid Caesar show and all that golden age of television comedy. She was akin to Phyllis Diller, if I'm to think of someone who was like her.
I always think of her, I guess because of growing up in the 70s and 80s, I think of her on like talk shows and game shows, maybe
There you
Love
go.
Boat, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So the show takes place in this forest, Tranquility Forest, and for the time, they had a really good budget because there are these huge blades of grass and leaves, and it's this little bug forest, and there are four British teenage musicians, bug musicians, and they form a pop band named the Bugaloos, and the foursome are they're very popular for the Bugaloo universe. Interestingly enough, they had a little Bugaloo buggy that was built out by George Barris,
Ah,
who did the Munsters car, the Batmobile, the
that's
Monkeys.
I gotta look this
Barris,
up.
if you wanted a signature vehicle for your show, he was the guy to go to.
in fact, I think he did the Ark II.
That
There you
that
go.
was the Brubaker group,
Oh, it
actually.
was a Brubaker.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then he did the Damnation Alley then.
Damnation Alley, yeah. There was I can't remember, someone did a video on Damnation Alley and the creation of that.
I think it was our Dan Monroe.
Monroe, yeah. That
That
was pretty
guy,
good too.
he has some very good videos.
Yeah. So the Bugaloos were Joy, the butterfly, IQ, the grasshopper, excuse me, Harmony, the bumblebee, and Courage, the ladybug. And their costumes reflected, what they were. The guys had like bow ties and wings with little antennae, and the grasshopper's costume was green, and the lady bug was red.
I, I'm looking at a picture right now.
Oh, yeah, you got to pull up the theme song later, Walker.
Yeah, this is funny.
So
Well,
Martha
maybe
Ray.
I'll put all our theme songs at the end of the episode.
Oh, Bob, that would be awesome. Uh, so Benita Bazar is the character Martha Ray played, and she was untalented croner, a singer, who's the main antagonist for the series. And she always had these like feathered outfits with like boas, and not to take it into the adult realm, but Martha Ray was very well uh, um,
Endowed.
endowed, shall we say. And so they're trying to cover up, her womanhood with like all these feathers and bows, and it just accentuated it more. Anyway, through different eyes, I watched this program. Fun fact, I'm watching this, and Jasmine doesn't even like blink an eye or
Why
ask, "What are
would
you
she now?
watching?" Yeah, it's just, the Bugaloos,
He's
the
used to
Bugaloos.
it now.
She is. She's like, "Oh, you're podcasting tomorrow?" I'm like, "Yeah."
He's been desensitized by Planet
So Benita Bazar lives in this jukebox, and she wants to have a hit record because all the hit records in the jukebox are the Bugaloos, and there are some other bands that they mentioned, but there's a DJ character. What's he called? Hold on. Peter Platter. And he has record albums for his eyes, and his mouth is like a duckbill with records. Um, and it sounds weird, but it really works. And I was really having fun watching these episodes last night. But anyway, Benita wants to get the fame that the Bugaloos have. The first episode, she actually kidnaps them and threatens to hurt the female butterfly. What was her name? Oh no, she's the ladybug. Sorry, Courage. No, Joy. Joy. Sorry, she was a butterfly. Anyway, Benita Bazaar has a car, like a Cruella de Vil type car, that's driven by Funky Rat, a German accented chauffeur and her chief flunky. And he has this long snout and he has this very thick German accent.
Oh my God.
And when he walks, he marches like this. And all these animals and henchmen are kind of like half-size humans, so it's this really bizarre uh, walk. Funky Rat. There are these two, I don't know, Woofer and Tweeter are their names, and they kind of look like minions, but they have curly hair, kind of like unkept hair, so maybe they're meant to be sound bites. Sparky is Billy Barty's character, and he's a firefly. And Benita runs him over in the first episode, and so they're like helping him out and trying to teach him how to fly because he has wings too. There's a character called Nutty Bird. It's a messenger who periodically delivers messages to and from the Bugaloos. Peter Platter's the DJ. Peter Platter has a microphone puppet whose name is Mike, and it's kind of like the flute on H&R Puffin stuff. It
I
talks
was
to
going to
him.
say that this is like just as much like an acid trip as H&R Puffins.
I'm
Like all
telling
the
you,
Sid and Marty Croft shows are just like
what was
complete.
the Hattsville one? It reminded me of
Oh,
Hattsville.
Lidsville.
Lidsville.
Lidsville, yeah. There
So
are characters,
I'm just picturing like Larry and his mom dropping acid and watching Bugaloos.
maybe now, but back then, and the thing is, there was this commercial that was Good and Plenty, and there were these like hard candy covered jelly
Oh,
beans. Well, they were like
yeah.
jelly beans,
I
basically.
used to eat Good and Plenty all the
Good
time.
and
They had like
Plenty.
pink
And the
and white.
commercial was a train going by, and these kids pretend to be a train going, Good and Plenty, Good and Plenty, shaking the box, going, chick, 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 chick. And I'm telling my mom, I'm watching the Bugaloos, I want some Good and Plenty. She's like, why? Yeah, I want some Good and Plenty. And I get it, and I don't eat it. I just run around the house, pretend to be a train. She got a kick out of that too.
This was last weekend, or
Yeah, this was the weekend before. So, let's see the mic. They got Magico the Magician, Gina Low Wattage, Blue Bell Flower, giant talking flower who alerts the Bugaloos of any kind of danger or, when Benita's on her way. And they have these like a wall of like grapes, but only two talk, and it's called the grapevine, and that's where all the news comes into the Bugaloos. Um, and they would sing a song. They really were musicians. I don't know if they ever released an album, but there were about a dozen or no, actually 17 episodes that ran from 1970 to 1972. It is classic Sid and Marty Croft. If you get a chance to watch the Bugaloos, I highly recommend it. Uh, with, excuse me, with or without the acid, you'll have a romping good fun time.
well,
My.
so my little Billy Barty story.
Yes.
No pun intended. Um, William Winkler, friend of mine, he did movies like The Double D Avenger and Frankenstein versus a creature from Blood Cove and things like that. Back in the 80s, he did a show called Short Ribs. And what it was like a comedy variety show where the whole cast were midgets. And Bill, or William Winkler, being normal sized, he was on it as like the straight man. He'd play the straight man to all these other actors. And Billy Barty was like the star of this thing. So it didn't last all that long, but it did go to Australia and became a cult hit. William was saying that he's huge in Australia, but he said supposedly Billy Barty didn't pay him what he was promised. So his punchline was that he had to take him to small claims court. But but yeah, no, Billy Barty and William Winkler were the brains behind Short Ribs. Now I don't know if you can find that anywhere at this point. I don't know if it's on YouTube or whatever, but
Well, it shows up on Wikipedia.
oh, you found it.
Yeah, short ribs with two B's.
Yeah.
The Bugaloos, it was at 2017's Comic-Con. There they apparently showed a trailer of a pilot that they had produced, and were trying to get Nickelodeon to pick it up, and they didn't pick it up, so the whole thing got scrapped. Supposedly, Cyndi Lauper was going to play the Butterfly Joy character, but that never happened either.
Oh, I thought they were going to bring the old cast back.
Maybe for guest spots, but they were
See,
gonna aim the show towards.
if I was going to have the cast of the Bugaloos at a convention, the way I'd introduce them is I'd have this huge light bulb, turn it on, and then they all come flocking out to the light bulb.
Flying in.
That's
The method that they used for them to fly was like the old Superman show. You can see that there's like a flat board on their belly and chest as they're like, oh. But it's a fun show. It's still entertaining and amusing to me. So
I mean, you should look. I'm sure they had an album out at some point.
Josie and the
They had all this
Pussycats
music.
did. It was in a Kellogg's.
Because you think about back then, I mean, you had, the Banana Splits and the Archies and all these shows that had music involved, and they all had albums out.
Yeah.
A lot of that was via Ron Dante, but I'm sure if there was money to be made, the Bugaloos would have had an album out somewhere.
Yeah,
Hey,
I bet they did.
2 seasons, so
And Larry will present that on the next episode's Censored Tweet.
Walter Koenig did write an episode. No, just kidding.
That'll be our next episode. Shows written by Walter Koenig.
Well, my friends, honorable mentions. I know I loved the Mighty Isis.
Oh, many people.
Oh,
love
yeah.
Mighty
Shazam.
Isis.
Shazam.
And they
Banana
combined the two of them
Splits.
into like a 1 hour
Banana
show at
Splits.
one point.
Wild Boy and Bigfoot.
was a
Ruth
good
Buzzy
one.
and Jim Neighbors played either astronauts or aliens.
Was that the
Space
Way
Nuts,
Out
wasn't it?
Space Nuts? Yeah.
Yes. Bob Denver was an alien.
Was he an alien or was he just an astronaut
Was he an astronaut?
with an alien? I can't remember.
Maybe that's what it was. Sigmund the Sea Monster. I mean, there was a ton. Sid Marty Krofft were like all over the 70s for
Electro
kids.
Woman and Dyna-Girl.
Electro Woman, and I was watching episodes of that. I almost picked that.
Well, that was with they had a few shows because they had Dr. Shrinker,
Dr.
Hole in the
Shrinker,
Tongs.
Dr. Shrinker.
Yeah, there was a few
Good
things
theme songs.
together there.
But you also had like the Banana Splits with Danger Island.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, Chongo.
I know that somehow my mom sent off for it. I was like a member of the Banana Splits fan club, and I had a little patch on the little jacket that they would send me to kindergarten in.
It was 1974, 1975. Mother took me to Macy's in Union Square to go meet Snork from the Banana Splits.
I went to the College of San Mateo and I was taking TV broadcasting classes. And there was one teacher who claimed that she was one of the people in the Fleagle Beagle suit.
Oh,
And she brought in these big old shoes one day to kind of say, oh, here's the shoes from the Fleagle Beagle suit. So whether that was true or not, I don't know, but that was her claim.
that's cool.
Well, one show that I enjoyed, and I just thought of this. I know I mentioned to you guys the other days. I saw there was a Paul Rubens documentary in two parts on HBO, and I watched that. And they were talking about his whole life, but they spent a lot of time on how he put Pee-wee's Playhouse together. And it reminded me how much I enjoyed that show. I mean, now that was on when I was in college. And a lot of times I missed it because I was working. In college, I worked for a veterinarian. And Saturdays, a lot of times I would be going in on Saturdays. But I remember racing back home, and my roommates, would usually just be getting up. And it seemed like Pee-wee usually came on about like 11:30 on Saturdays. It was later in the morning. Um, but that show was so much fun. And it was one of those shows that I think, he had stuff aimed at the little kids, he had stuff aimed at the adults. Visually, it was just so entertaining because they took so much care with the art direction. They had so many cool things always on screen all the time. He had the puppets, they had the music. I mean, they had music by Danny Elfman and Mark Mothersbaugh and Todd Rundgren. It was just like you could tell they put so much into it, and it was just
Cindy
always
Lauper did the
entertaining.
theme.
Yeah, and she didn't want to be credited at the time, but yeah, they invested a lot into that show, and
You
I
look at the
really.
guest stars. I mean, Cowboy Curtis.
Well, back then, like Lawrence Fishburne wasn't a big name, but you see where these people have gone
Well, the king
on
of
to.
cartoons.
Oh, well, he was a big name. King of cartoons. There's our Star Trek connection
Yeah,
again.
there's our Star Trek connection.
Yeah, it was a really great show, and I think people tend to like have all these issues. Well, he was caught in the theater. It's like, yeah, 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 but you know what?
So was your
Um,
mother. No.
that was a really outstanding show for kids, and I'm sure there's a lot of younger folks who, that was their banana splits or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a great show.
Yeah, another show that actually premiered or debuted on Saturday mornings was the infamous Mighty Morphin Power Rangers back in 90, I think it was 91. And at the time, August Rigoni and I were doing Mark Life Magazine and Henshin Online and all this stuff. And we were invited down to Burbank to watch them shoot Ultraman, the Ultimate Hero. So we got
Oh,
to go down and sit in an old Borel's parking lot that they were using, and they used the hills of Burbank as the background, and they had a elevated stage, and we were watching Ultraman battle Alien Dada for the whole day on Friday. So Saturday, we weren't going home quite yet, so we ended up going over to William Winkler's house, and we were all hanging out. And that was the morning that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was debuting. And Augie and I had, for years before that, been watching all the Super Sentai shows from Japan and all that. So, it's like, well, let's see what they do with it. And we watched the first episode, and all three of us were like sitting there, mouth agape, saying, this is not going to last more than a few episodes, I don't think.
Hmm.
We know it would go on and on and on and on. But um, yeah, we were,
What not being a part of that world,
yes.
what was in your opinion, what was like so terrible about the the Power Rangers as compared to like the Japanese shows that you were
Well,
used to.
that first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was based on Ranger, uh, Sentai show in Japan. The Sentai show started like in the early 70s with Go Ranger, and basically a new show every year, every single year up until this year. So it's been running all that time, and they just cut it this year, and they're replacing it with a Space Sheriff Gavan series. But um, basically, I mean, they were, Japanese family shows, but violence and, you know, not quite serious, but more serious than Power Rangers. I mean, Power Rangers came along and they had Bulk and Skull doing all the slapstick stuff, and it was like the after school special kids, that played the Power Rangers and stuff. And we just like, being fans of the Sentai stuff, we were just like, what the
It
hell
was
is
very
this? You know?
watered down and
My
not.
daughter got into it, and she and I would watch it, and as time went on, I kind of got used to it and everything was cool. But um, yeah, well, it was just the initial shock of seeing that first episode and what they had done to a show that we enjoyed. And yeah, so Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then also later in the 2000s, um, Fox had the Fox box on Saturday mornings. And
That sounds weird.
the Fox box included Ultraman Tiga, which would usually play around 11:30. And again, they didn't take it seriously, so they dubbed it, you know, tongue in cheek, basically. But I think the funniest story I heard about that was from Brad Warner, my friend who worked at Subaru Productions. And there's an episode where this alien woman is in a hospital bed, and she's talking to, the doctors and that. And in the Japanese episode, she's talking like an alien language, and they're sitting there going, "Oh, we don't know what she's saying and all this stuff." But when they dubbed it for here, they dubbed her in Japanese and the doctors in English. And again, they're just like going, I don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And in Japanese, she is saying, "You're all Japanese. I'm speaking in Japanese. Why don't you understand me?" But, they figure, unless there's a Japanese kid watching the show, that nobody would really know. It was just kind of like a background joke. But no, Saturday mornings used to be a wonderful thing. Not so much anymore.
No, you got to go on the interwebs now to find these things. Speaking of interwebs, are you guys watching the new Daredevil series?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
of course.
And what are
very
we
good.
thinking?
Yeah, I think
Enjoying it.
it's putting all the other Marvel series to shame. Mainly because it's keeping the tone and the of the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's serious, dark in some areas, violent fights. I mean, how can you go back and watch Moon Knight or any of these other series when it's like Daredevil sets the bar, basically?
One thing they've done though that's a little bit more comic booky is they've got him using that Billy Club, which they didn't really
Yeah.
have, and he's got the cable in it, and he's whacking folks and swinging around, and
Oh yeah.
I'm like, thank you, because that's such a strong element in the old comics where he would use that, and I think they avoided that. He just sort of used them as batons or
Well,
clubs.
in the comics, I mean, he'd team up with Spider-Man a lot. And
Oh
they'd be
yeah.
swinging building to building, Spider-Man with his webs, and then, Daredevil with
Hmm.
his Billy Club and the wire and all that. So yeah,
I mean, we between that in seeing the trailer for Spider-Man Brand New Day, where it's like Spider-Man is not wearing some stupid suit of armor. He's not in outer space. He's in New York fighting criminals. It's like, yes, that's what he should be doing. So we got that. We got Daredevil. It's like, oh my God, it's
Well,
almost like
the Punisher.
the Punisher is in New York.
Yeah, it's
Spider-Man's
interesting
webbing him
because
up.
there's a shot in the trailer where Spider-Man is up towards the top of the screen and he's swinging towards a horde of the Hand. Like
Oh yeah.
and everybody's like making that seem like in the last movie where they had all the villains on one side and Spider-Man swinging, and they had digitally erased the other two Spider-Men, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So
Mm-hmm.
thinking that in this shot, there's going to be possibly Daredevil, possibly,
Punisher.
Hulk or somebody else
Yeah.
with him.
We do know that the tarantula is going to be in there. We don't know for how long.
Tarantula,
Scorpion,
Scorpion, Boomerang,
Boomerang.
Boomerang.
Tombstone.
So
They haven't shown Tombstone yet. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
that'll be interesting. What are you
Well,
guys
the
thinking
thing
of
with
Lobo
Tombstone,
showing
though,
up in?
wasn't he a henchman originally of Kingpin
I
or
think he
I
Hammerhead?
don't
was.
know.
Oh, Hammerhead was for sure.
Hammerhead, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Tombstone.
So I'm just wondering if that's kind of paving the way for
That
the
would be
Kingpin at some point.
that would be
Because the
cool.
Kingpin did start in Spider-Man. He didn't start in Daredevil.
Yeah.
True.
He was originally a Spider-Man villain.
Very true. What do you guys think of Lobo showing up in the Supergirl trailer?
Not sure about that Supergirl trailer.
Mr. Lobo, I think I missed him.
We'll see.
Is he
What
friend or
else?
foe? Or I don't know anything about the background of a
Like a
lot of
bounty
these
hunter.
characters, but
Bounty hunter. Well, I stopped watching Monarch. I need to get back into that. I just ran out of time.
Well, we just finished the first season and gonna dive into the second. So
there is a
pretty
short
excited.
Godzilla scene in this week's episode.
I am 3 weeks in or 3 episodes in, so I need to
Uh,
pick up at some point.
have
You
either
got
of
the
you
pace.
watched? There's a show called Paradise. Have either of you watched that?
No.
Oh, well, I will just say for the audience, it's not what you might think it would be on the surface. It's a very good show. It's definitely a genre show. So I'll toss it
Where
out
where
there.
can we find Paradise?
Hulu.
Hulu.
Hulu? Who knew it was Hulu?
Hulu. It was Hulu.
I mean, I don't know if it's really like ABC or some other thing. I just watch it on Hulu. So
Paradise. Cool.
Buddies out there that dig Primal. They just finished the last season of Primal, and
I saw, yeah, a
quite a
clip of that
good
video.
finish to that.
Where do you find Primal?
It's on Adult Swim, but you can pick it up on HBO Max, and yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Lots of stuff going on out there. Oh, my niece Kayla was asking, hey, she said I'm late to the party, but have you watched Invincible? The animated thing over on Amazon. Very bloody, very gory. It's in the vein of The Boys.
Yeah, I
I'd only
remember.
seen a couple episodes and but she's digging it. So
Well, I mean, as we
I
speak, I mean, the boys should be back pretty soon,
final season, I think, for The Boys.
and it's the big Supernatural reunion because Jensen Ackles is on there, and Jared Padalecki and Misha Collins.
Ooh.
oh, jeez. Now
So
I know, Bob, you've seen Project Hail Mary, right?
yes, very good.
Larry, have you seen it? No, I just saw it last night. I thought it was pretty good. I think it's too long. It's 2.5 hours long. I think they could have cut some stuff, but that's my general opinion on
So
everything
that's sort
anymore.
of like a normal movie these days. Like
Yeah, I don't know why everybody feels the need to kind of stretch stuff out. It's like you could tell a
I
story
think
more.
movie tickets are so expensive, you got to get your money's worth, right?
I don't know, but it was good. I thought it was entertaining. There were, you know, obviously I'm always going to nitpick a few things, but overall, I don't really like Ryan Gosling that much, but he did a good job, and it was the space stuff was pretty cool. So entertaining movie.
Yeah, it was
Has any
interesting because when I went to see it, I saw it at this Cinépolis theater, and I didn't realize what I was going to see because it was like the screen in front of the theater, but then certain scenes would also project on the side walls.
Ah,
And I was like, oh crap, what is this? He didn't say anything about this during the when I bought the tickets.
did you like that kind of presentation? Or,
It's like the things that happened on the side walls were just basically extensions of what was on the screen. So
Mhm.
it wasn't like you had to look at the wall on the right or you had to look at the wall on the left. Um, so it was just kind of gimmicky more than anything else. But then obviously, if you stream it or you watch it on Blu-ray or whatever, you're not going to have those scenes that are on the sides. So they can't put anything important off to the
Yeah.
sides. But no, I enjoyed it anyway. I thought it was good.
did anybody watch the launch of Artemis 2?
Mhm.
Nah, I got preoccupied, but
I did.
I was very, very excited. It's an exciting thing that NASA has done, and our first trip to the moon, even though we're not putting boots on the moon, but we're going out farther than any of humankind have gone into space, and hopefully they come back.
see, I was kind of disappointed that they're just going to orbit the moon and come back. I was hoping,
Well,
well, let's get some boots on the ground.
They
so
will. There's two more
we had
missions,
yeah, we had to do that with Apollo too. We had to kind of go out, test things, and then go
Yeah,
back.
but we
several
already did
times.
that. We did that years ago. So why do we
Di
need to test again?
different vehicle,
New
you know.
technology.
Yeah, they
The
got to make
toilet
sure
failed in
everything
orbit, but they
works.
fixed it, so they were able to finish their mission. True story.
Given everything of the last few years, the toilet failing seems exactly apropos. So, with all the other stuff going on, it's like, yeah,
They had them store water just in case the water mechanism, failed. So all these things you don't anticipate, but you have to like think on your feet, you know, figure
Yeah.
it
Well,
out.
if you think like the first moon landing was what, 1969?
yep.
So long ago that we should be on Mars by now at
Oh
least.
yeah, I
We
mean,
should have, but this whole thing is political, right? The only reason we're going back to the moon now is because the Chinese want to go to the moon. It's always about political will. It's never about like,
Take
oh,
our claim.
scientific reasons.
but let's not get into the realm of reality.
They had a very beautiful image of the Earth that they sent back, and I really enjoyed seeing that. And
Yeah.
hopefully, it's uplifting to people to remember that we can do, you know, big important things working together.
Yeah,
God,
and
God
remind
knows.
humanity what we're capable of. And so let's take a look at world hunger. And again, not to get into geopolitical, but let's fix things rather than blow things up.
Yes.
But not to get too political, but if you look at this new budget they're putting together,
Oh, dude,
like
don't even.
NASA's like cut like 23% of the budget
Well,
in favor of 1.4 trillion extra going to war
Hey
yeah.
kids, this
military.
is not gold. I'm getting a communication in from Planet 8 HQ. Yeah, Roger that. It's time for our sensor sweep. What beautiful, wonderful things do we have? I have a gun. I'd like to share. Let's talk peace.
Let's talk peace. Peace and
Um,
love. Peace and love.
this is a beautiful replica of Decker's gun from Blade Runner
What?
2049. This is what I mean, it's the same pistol from the original movie. They didn't switch it out, but this thing is heavy. It's made out of real metal. Um,
Who made that?
Paragon, the good folks over at Paragon.
So that could not
Wow.
have been cheap.
The bullets are made out of metal. They're not real metal. The other thing on Planet 8, Bob, we do not discuss cost. Uh, it
Well, Paragon is coming out with a 1-1 scale oxygen destroyer.
ooh,
And that
Hmm.
thing's like well into 4 digits.
ouch. Oh, look at that. That just
Very nice.
and
I know here.
you can do this. Oh, you know here?
I know here.
Hold on. Wait, where's the mic? Don't know here?
Still no hair.
It's just
No.
a little click, click, click.
Okay.
But
They didn't at least put caps in that thing.
I tell you what, they there's a book and it you can there's all these little like screws and bolts. You can tear this thing apart. I mean, it's amazing how many separate pieces went into this. Um, and it's heavy. I mean, Jeff was telling me he had 3D printed something similar, but it didn't have the weight that this is
Mm,
real metal. So
very nice.
anyway, it is an investment, my friends. So what have you to share, my friends?
Well, I actually have something.
A
Not a
thing.
book. Not a book.
Not a book.
Not a book this time. You guys know I'm not really collecting stuff anymore, but this kind of hit me in my childhood feels. The Micronauts, the time traveler.
Bring that in a little Walker, can you?
Mm,
Oh, that's cool. That looks like the real McCoy.
it's
That
it's
clear
a little,
plastic.
yeah, it's maybe a little bit chunkier than the originals, but in most regards, it looks much like the real McCoy. And so I was really, when I was a kid, this was right on the cusp of when I stopped buying toys, about the age I stopped playing with. But I would see these things in the store, and I was just, I don't know why, I would just go nuts for them. And I really liked, like, they had the Pharoid, which had his own little
A Croyer.
sarcophagus, a Croy. So yeah, Super 7 is selling these recreations of uh, different Micronauts toys. And when I saw the time traveler, I was like, oh, pretty colors. So
I
got
remember
myself.
Force Commander and Baron Karza, they had magnetic
Um,
joints.
I never had those two. I
Yeah,
didn't have those. I had a lot of the other littler ones. But yep. So he's on my desk here when I'm working away, toiling over Excel spreadsheets and crap during the day. He's. I just look up and go, oh,
very nice.
Super 7 closed all its stores,
Yeah,
mm,
they're online only now.
pulling back online only, reworking their online presence.
wow,
Although they will have a booth at Godzilla Fest in September.
that's cool.
So if you want to go browse through a Super 7 plethora of things, and they do bring a lot of their product out that is non-Godzilla, but um, yeah, that will be your chance.
Cool.
Very good.
Was that your sensor suite, Bob?
No,
Super 7
that
or
was just my
oh.
insertion of comment.
His commentary.
So what
Uh,
do you have, Bob?
but yes, tickets are up for sale for
Okay.
the Godzilla Fest. 1 day and 2 day passes. We're going to have the VIP passes and the dinner up on sale shortly. We're just finishing up negotiations with the hotel to have the guest dinner there on Friday night. And that's going to be September 18th through 20th. and it'll be at the Holiday Inn Golden Gateway in San Francisco. And before that, we do have the regular film festival at the Balboa Theater in San Francisco in July on the 17th through the 19th. 2 screens, 20 films, 3 days. Just make all your plans. And speaking of, I did get in Alamo Draft House. Now has Godzilla popcorn buckets. And he's got a big gaping maw, so you can get a lot of good popcorn in there. And here I'll recreate the beginning of Land of the Lost, the end of the theme song. But then you can actually, if you don't like the mouth open, you can shut the mouth.
Did you actually put popcorn in it, Bob?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I got mine in the mail. I didn't put anything in it yet either. It's still in the box.
I got mine in the mail as well, and it doesn't smell as bad as when it came out of the box. So I think because I've had it out and it's been airing out.
I have mine fighting the Galactus popcorn bucket.
Well, put some dryer sheets on it.
If you want to have fighting popcorn buckets, rumor has it that Mechagodzilla will be the next popcorn bucket.
Oh, that's neat.
I passed on the Jaws one. I kind of regret it.
The only one I regret passing on was the Bat Signal.
Mm.
And I did order one online, and it was like from an unscrupulous source, and I never got it, never got refunded, and of course they've disappeared. So that was my attempt at the Bat Signal popcorn bucket.
No good.
Terrible.
No good.
Terrible. They must pay.
They must.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's when I learned my lesson on buying stuff off of Facebook ads or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Facebook is terrible for that.
Totally. Well, my
You order from a company, you do PayPal, and then when you look at your PayPal receipt, it's like Kwang Lee Chan or whatever. And it's like, well, shoot, okay. 50-50 chance I'll get that.
True. Have to be careful when you're shopping online. My friends, thank you very much for tuning in once again, sharing your time with us. If you haven't been on YouTube, this is definitely a great episode to go on YouTube. If for nothing else, but to check out Bob's hat. Like he said, it all started on the moon. So, hey, take care of yourselves. Like, subscribe, comment, and share this YouTube channel with your friends. We are rapidly reaching that 1,000 mark of subscribers, and at that point we can do a lot of cool stuff, live shows, and who knows, maybe we can do a live show at your convention. If you have some kind of a convention out there you'd like us to go to, science fiction, comic book, hell, even go to an anime convention.
We'll go to a Bugaloos convention.
There you go.
I'm there.
There's got to be a Sid and Marty Krofft convention somewhere.
There should be. But hey, again, thank you very much. Until next time, live long and prosper.
For millions of years, Earth was fertile and rich. Then pollution and waste began to take their toll. Civilization fell into ruin. This is the world of the 25th century. Only a handful of scientists remain, men who have vowed to rebuild what has been destroyed. This is their achievement. Ark II, a mobile storehouse of scientific knowledge, manned by a highly trained crew of young people. Their mission? To bring the hope of a new future to mankind.
Ark II log, entry number 1. I, Jonah, Ruth, Samuel, and Adam are fully aware of the dangers we face as we venture into unknown, maybe even hostile areas. But we're determined to bring the promise of a new civilization to our people and our planet.
The Bugaloos, We're in the air and everywhere, flying high, flying loose, flying free as a summer breeze, happy as a summer breeze. The Bugaloos, we're in the air and everywhere.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft and plunged them down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost.
Come on, get out of here. Come on. Will, come on, Holly, let's go.
To the land of the lost. To the land of the lost.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end.